ZRL Race 8 or ZRL Race 8 Umezi Countryside Tour. This is the big one. All right, let's take a look at the race on a page. So there were some last minute changes to the power-ups here, but frankly doesn't change anything. But let's not start there. Let's start the usual way and walk you through the race. So this is a grueling race on Countryside Tour. There is a gravel KOM, which really does add a little spice to this. And even with the changes to the power-ups, it doesn't really make any difference. The winner of this race will be certainly one who perfects the bike change. There's no real question in my mind that to get any points at all, you're really going to have to do a bike change every time you switch from road to gravel, gravel to road. All right, so how many laps? A's and B's are doing 2.5 laps, ending at the top of the KOM. C's and D's, 1.5 laps, ending at the top of the KOM. So what does that mean for points? We've got the country sprint and the temple KOM 3 times round for A's and B's, 2 for C's and D's, giving you the FAL points, and the FTS points are the same country sprint and the temple KOM. I am not absolutely sure whether your time the last time around the temple KQOM will count, but there you go. Alright, so the big one, the race is meant to finish at the top of the KQOM as you go under the arch, but we all know that this is not Zwift's strong suit, being able to comfortably and accurately put a mid-route finish line. So as we're going through, I will point this out, but you really will need to keep an eye out for that blue line telling you where the finish is. When we did this on Caspats for the C's D's, they were about 0.5 kilometer too early. Let's hope that it's not too early here, because obviously that's going to affect your point scoring, but it could well come anywhere up to 0.5 kilometer out the back of the KOM. So don't stop pedaling till you cross that line. All right, the 3 power-ups, the draft truck affecting for 30 seconds, the feather, which will decrease your weight, and the new one that came in overnight at time of recording is the steamroller. This is an awful lot better than the previous anvil, because the anvil served no strategic purpose. The steamroller does, because you're going to win points and get finishing position as you get to the top of the KQOM, which has a lot of dirt and gravel. But as I said earlier on, my belief is to win points, you're going to have to change bikes. And the impact that the steamroller has for a mountain bike or a gravel bike is much diminished from a road bike. If your choice of a road bike is thrown out because there's no way you're going to get to the top of that mountain quickly on a road bike, steamroller or not, then the benefit of the steamroller on the bike that you will be on, which is a mountain bike or a gravel bike, is a bit diminished. Still, it's there. If you've got it, you'll know when to use it, and we'll talk about that. Other than that, away we go. I've already talked a little about bike choice. Honestly, if you want points, you need to change bikes as you hit the gravel. We'll cover that as we go on. Let's just jump on and talk about the DS notes. As always, DS notes freely downloadable. In fact, all these slides are freely downloadable. I've broken it down and tried to highlight where A's and B's are still running, but C's and D's are stopped with the change of color there. I've worked really hard at getting the distances right, and I do once again apologize for some errors in the distances the last time we were in Makuri Islands or Umezi, but there we go. So go ahead and download this. Let's just jump on though to the key points of this race, the key attack points. First one, if I've said once, I've said 20 times that the key to winning this race or a good position in this race is being able or being willing to change bikes as you migrate from surface to surface. that takes practice. If you've not done it before, invest 5 minutes in getting anywhere in Watopia, getting up to some sort of speed, stopping, changing bikes, getting back up to speed. Do that 3 or 4 times and you've got everything that you need to know. And I'll actually do a little walkthrough of that when we get to the appropriate point. That's my first one. Second one, I don't think there's any strategic value to the power-ups. I've already talked about that. Yes, the feather and the steamroller will give you some benefit on the KQOM. Yes, the draft fan will be handy if you're on the sprint, but that's about it. So don't count on your power-ups and being able to do something clever with power-ups that are going to really change your race. We've got the country sprint marked out there. Okay, so the next point, the next lightning bolt, you have to swap your bikes the moment you're on the dirt road. There's only about 100 meters between the start of the dirt road and the actual start of the KQOM. So you have that 100 meters to stop, change bikes, and get back up to pace. So bear that in mind. The KQOM is 2.5 kilometers long, averaging 3.5%, but it wildly varies. There are sections that go from 9% incline to minus 5% incline in the space of 50 meters. So this is a technical climb. Swap bikes as soon as you're back on the gravel, and then the last point is the one I made on the last slide actually, which is we don't absolutely know for sure where the finish line is meant to be. It's meant to be at the KOM end gate, but it may not be there. So keep going till you hit that marker. Keep going till you hit that finish line. All right, bikes. So here are my choices. It's the same bikes choices that I usually recommend when it comes to the tarmac. For the dirt, there's 2 mountain bikes and 1 gravel bike. Mountain and gravel bikes have a slightly different dynamic. Gravel bikes are faster on steep grades and slower on the descents than a mountain bike. However, the Trek Super Caliber is a pretty awesome mountain bike. So my recommendation is to go with the bikes at this level, but if you want to head to the dirt and try out some of these bikes, then by all means do. If you absolutely do not want to change and will rely on getting a steamroller maybe to help you out as you're going up that gravel, then I think the 2 choices that you have are the general purpose Tron bike if you've got it. It's a mixed bag, right? So it's pretty good on the climbs, it's pretty good on the flats, and it's not awful. It's pretty awful, but it's not awful compared to other road bikes on the gravel. Or the outlier choice, the Cervelo Aspero, that is a gravel bike, so it will move as fast as anything else up the gravel on the KQOM, and it's not as bad as a mountain bike on the road. It is still significantly slower than a road bike, but it's not as bad as a mountain bike. So if you're only going with 1 bike and you're not going to do any changes, those are my selections for you. All right, let's jump to times. I'm just going to leave these here for a second. I've broken them down into the 4 categories for both women's and for mixed. I think you can probably quite quickly work out where you are on there. This will be an interesting one. There haven't been too many races on this circuit, so picking the times took a little bit of effort, but I think I did okay. Let's just jump straight into the ride itself. Coming out of the pens is not far to the start-finish gate. The important thing here, we have a long way to go before anything interesting happens. Sit in, don't take the front, get in a group that you can sustain, and it's a fast start, 500 meters downwards before a long, flat-ish, although there's nothing really flat on this course. It's what I call a variable flat. So it rounds to flat, but it's always going up or down for much of it. The first meaningful event, though, is the sprint, which will come at 5.2, 21.1, and 36.8 kilometers into the ride. All right, the first paragraph there, I've already said, the race is going to be won by the rider that changes bikes, by a rider that changes bikes every time they enter and exit the dirt. The route itself, you can think of as 4 kilometers of relatively flat, then the hill, and then up and down the hill, and then a downhill that takes you through the start-finish gate. So break it up like that in your own mind. This is as good a time as any to give a round of applause and a big thank you to all the November Coffee Club contributors. And I want to make a particular shout out to Velocity Vixens. And of course, as I always like to say, contributing to the Coffee Club is not the only way to help the channel. If you want to help the channel, let's make sure you tell all your Zwifty friends. You like and subscribe this video and subscribe to the channel, and of course that you download the notes. Let's crack on with the ride all the way to the sprint. These fields are your real first indicator that you're approaching the sprint. They start 500 meters, half a kilometer from the sprint itself. As we come around the bend, you can see the sprint gate. It's very short, just 100 meters. We're approaching it now. Position yourself, maybe use that draft van if you've got it. There's the start line, and you can see how short this is. It must be one of the shortest sprints in the whole of Zwift. Through we go. Recover after the sprint. The next one will be at 21.1 or 36.8 kilometers into the ride. And our flat is pretty much over now. It's going to start trending upwards, although just like our flat, this undulates upwards. So there's periods of down within our up. Still tarmac as we go up the hill for 3.5 kilometers, and we'll hit that dirt at 9, 24.8 and 40.6 kilometers into the ride. Don't come round and waste my time. A generation of my time. There is nothing we can do. Stop this plague from breaking through. As we go through the village ahead, it flattens out. We'll get caught unawares as we go through there. But I'm going to jump forward momentarily to 8.5 kilometers. There we go. This fishing spot is a half a kilometer from the start of the dirt road. So we're at 8.5, or we're at 8.5, 24.3, 40. You should be preparing yourself now for the bike change. And in the mini map you can see the turn-in. It's just the other side of these buildings. Alright, hit the brakes, and here's a change. Here's a change I've done on a previous video, and I'll link you to that video because it talks a lot about the mathematics involved in whether or not it makes sense to do a bike change, which apply just as much here as they do on the jungle. It's an easy process. Once you've stopped, you can access your bikes, move to the bike that you want, select it. There we go. Close, get out, and then back on the power as fast as you can. Now you can see the elapsed time from when I started to when I got started again, or when I stopped to when I got started again, was 29 seconds. But because I'm rolling to a stop, the problem time was only 19 seconds. That's what you have to catch up to somebody who's on a road bike. We're on the KOM already. This is, as I said earlier, a technical ascent. It only averages 3.5% over that 2.5 kilometers, but it's constantly varying grade, and it does get up to 9% as we're going through there. And then there are some areas, short areas of downhill as well. So you're constantly changing. And the reality is, for a rider that went ahead of you and didn't change bikes, they're probably doing 2/3 the speed that you are up here. And an elapsed time of 19 seconds, or a difference time of 19 seconds, is not much to catch up at all. I was trying to work out how best to show this. It's a long climb and I'm not going very quickly up there. I didn't know whether to jump ahead or not, and I elected not to jump ahead, but to actually just speed up the video just a little bit so that it wasn't so dreary watching me struggle up here. Now, if you have the steamroller, I would not be using it, or the feather actually, I would not be using it here. I think the right place to use it is much higher up the hill, closer to the end point where you're going to start a real attack. We're approaching the last section of this KOM, and you'll remember from the VeloViewer 3D there is a flat section and then a steep section and then an actual downhill that leads you to the gate itself. We're approaching that now, and I think that's a perfect time to begin an attack. What I will say is, if you're on your last lap, you should be looking for that blue finish line from this point onwards. Now, as soon as races start, if you're one of the first racers out there, by all means drop me a line, drop a message out, and then I can update everyone on where that finish line actually is. Here we go. Here's the bridge where it flattens out. So don't get caught unawares here. Your speed will pick up, and this may be a good time to start an attack. The flat keeps going through this bridge, and then as we round the bend, we get back onto the hill. Slight downhill, and there we are, back on the hill. Now it's this section, the next probably 500 meters, 400 meters is where you want to use your power-ups, the steamroller, flatten this out, or the feather to lighten your load as you're going up here, before it flattens again for the end game, for the finish. 500 meters remaining. short flat there, another little step up, but this is where it really flattens out. There we go, flat across the bridge, and then it nudges downhill. Again, like with the last flat area, don't get caught out. There's the end. And you're through. Second or third lap for A's, B's, C, D's respectively is hopefully you've now finished the race, but we don't exactly know. So keep going till you see that blue bar across the screen that tells you you're done. The next 600 meters is gently downhill. It varies between flat and a couple of percent. But let's bear in mind, you have a long way to go from here to where anything matters. So you shouldn't be pushing hard. Just sit in the group that you're in. Do the best you can to recover. It steepens, but the same message is true. If you chose one of the mountain bikes over the gravel bikes, you'll be in your element at this point. They descend much faster. But strategically, that doesn't make any difference to you here. Alright, as we go through this building, it flattens out. Power on as you go through. There you go. See, 0% just for a few seconds. Keep on going. But that's a good sign that you're quite close to the village where you do have to make the bike change. There it is. You can see the tarmac. Make the change now. I'm not going to bother showing you that. I showed it you earlier on. It's flat-ish through the village. 500 meters. At that T-junction ahead is where the descent really starts. But again, bear in mind through all this, there's nothing to be gained by burning matches in this section of the race. It's a long downhill and flat before you get to the sprint, and you can afford to bide your time, sit in the group that you're in, or if you can see someone ahead and you want to bridge to them, then go for that. The descent itself carries on straight through the start-finish gate and a half a kilometer out the other side. But like everything else on this route, it does vary. You can see there was a little area of flat there, and then we're back to minus 3-4% descent. There's no point on this ride you can afford to relax. You have to be on your game. There's a little bump up. Short flat as we cross this little stone bridge. Descent continues down. There you go. Recon is done. You've seen the whole thing. I'm going to just leave you with the 5 slides. And between now and next Tuesday, ride on, everybody.
I don't even care if my soul is gone. So many words that I should have said. Not concerned about how to live instead. Just open your eyes and take my advice. Stop rolling the dice and just compromise. It's the chance of your life.